Welcome back to the Charlotte 49ers Dynasty. We're heading into year 2 after a first season going 6-6. It does look like the AD understands that the players and the staff are important, and he knows that prestige is on the line in order to get some of these recruits. They want us for another 5 years, and our goal wins per season will be 7. So let's look to improve every year to make sure we get at least 7 wins. While of course Shane Falco was retained as head coach, Greg Brown is coming back as defensive coordinator. However, Mark Carney's contract expired, so we brought in Shannon Dawson as the offensive coordinator. Let's see what new offensive scheme he is going to bring in to the Charlotte 49ers Dynasty next year. And next, unfortunately, we do have to move to players leaving. We do have one guy who wants to transfer, but I don't know if he ever saw playing time, so he wants to get that at Miami. Go ahead, buddy. Our senior quarterback and offensive play caller, Chris Reynolds, is graduating. His last season was filled with a lot of targets to Taylor Thompson, but also a lot of interceptions. Not quite Jameis Winston level, but literally right on the cusp. We will also be saying goodbye to our top 3 wide receivers, Grant Dubose, Elijah Spencer, and Victor Tucker. All 3 of them played vital pieces throughout the season in our offensive journey to the 6-6 record. The trio were able to haul in just under 100 passes for just over 1,500 yards and collected 3 total touchdowns. Eugene Minter Jr. was also a mainstay for us. His senior year, he did transition to the fullback position because we had no one, and he did a great job there. We will miss him. And Taylor Thompson, one of the biggest playmakers on this offense, in fact the biggest playmaker on this offense, will absolutely be missed. First team All-American as well as John Mackey Award winner. His 78 receptions for just over 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns will not be easy to replace. However, the pieces that we're bringing in, not only at running back, fullback, wide receiver, but also tight end, will hopefully put a dent in the chunk that we are missing. Going into the offseason, one of our main focuses was making sure that we have offensive line recruits. As you can see, we do have 4 of our 5 starting linemen graduating. While we did not have the best running experience this year, we have to make sure we do better at blocking, but also protecting our quarterback. And the offensive linemen coming in will hopefully be able to replace these guys and do better and improve for their next 4 years. Holding down the right end position, Amir Sadiq did a great job his senior year as a complement to some of the other big players on our defensive line, and one of the best ends to play opposite of was Marquise Watts. He did end up as a first team All-American and had 14 sacks his senior year. His presence on that defensive line will be missed, but we hope to fill it in some capacity with some of the guys that we're bringing in. And one of the biggest contributors to our defensive success was Chase Monroe. He's a local boy, and he wanted to make sure that he played in front of his friends and family and made them all proud. He will be missed as a defensive play caller, but we are bringing in some pieces that will hopefully take his spot and make him proud. 2 of our top cornerbacks will be leaving us. Trey Creamer and Gio Howard were 2 guys that I could rely on, even though they weren't the biggest, strongest, or fastest. They came and played with all of their heart. They combined for 4 interceptions and over 70 tackles. And as I've said before, I do not like my cornerbacks having to make a bunch of tackles, but these guys came through in the clutch and had me those tackles for loss, interceptions, deflections when we needed them. And one of the main guys I'm going to miss on this defensive unit and is going to be absolutely impossible to replace is Tank Robinson. I remember his first game, he picked up a few sacks, and I knew we had an all-world defensive back, strong safety. His presence will be missed. Moving to the transfer request, we have this 72 overall freshman guard, and I am actually leaning towards signing him. He does have above average blocking. His awareness is already there, great acceleration, and I like his strength. By accepting that transfer from East Carolina, we have no more scholarships available, so we're going to go ahead and skip to the next stage of the offseason. And there you have it, folks. The 53rd ranked recruiting class out of 126, right in the middle of the pack, 50th percentile. We have 16 3-stars, 5 2-stars, and 3 1-stars. We also have that incoming transfer from East Carolina. I am very happy with what we have, so let's look at the guys individually. I do believe this class has some pieces that will make all 3 phases of the game easier: offensive, defensive, and special teams. We have a new kicker, we have multiple running backs, we have a few tight ends that we're going to be able able to utilize not only the passing game but the blocking game. We have some quarterbacks who are going to make a name for themselves as they try to compete for the starting position. We have some defensive ends who are going to step up, not only because they want to, but because they have to, as we lost several big defensive pieces. We have offensive linemen who are going to be busting their butts to get the holes open for the running backs and protect these quarterbacks. And most importantly, we have a fullback. And now let's get to position changes. As we talked about during the recruiting process, we were always planning to move Will Culver over to fullback, and he is 6'2", 274 pounds. With those stats, there's no wonder he's so good at the fullback position. 72 blocking, 78 impact blocking, and he did go from a 66 to a 69 overall. Nice. And the next round of moves we did on the offensive line. As you can see, I do always like to have a certain number of starting linemen, backup linemen, and ones that I may redshirt. And you can see there's going to be plenty of room for us to mix and match, bring in on large packages when we want to run the ball. We had a few surprises with the defensive line as we brought linebacker DJ Brown to be our left outside end. His speed is great, acceleration, agility are wonderful. Obviously changing positions, the awareness will need to improve, but his power move and his finesse move are what are really going to make him a menace. But look at that pursuit. That 79 tells me that he is going to get to the quarterback as soon as possible, not letting anything get in his way. And like we talked about during the recruiting process, Maynard's agility being 59 did not make me want to keep him out at defensive end, so we brought him down to defensive tackle and he improved from 67 to 69. Nice again. Somehow we didn't have a left outside linebacker again, so we moved Cam Burden over. He is only a sophomore, and I am really excited to see him play. His speed is good, acceleration, agility is showing me he can cover, but his awareness, his play recognition, his pursuit, and his coverages make me super excited to user him or just let him do his own thing. The biggest change we made across our defensive unit was bringing Derek Boykins up from strong safety to middle linebacker. That change may not seem like one that would make sense, but at 6'2", 230 pounds with the following stats, you can see why I wanted to get him closer to the ball. Not the fastest at 74, so obviously I didn't want him back there, but with 85 acceleration, 85 agility, and the block shedding with play recognition and pursuit being 74, he's going to be able to read the play and get from point A to point B the fastest way possible. In an effort to help our offense out, I wanted to move our junior punter, who has kick power of 89, to kicker, and move the kicker with 81 kick power to punter. Training results are in, and it looks like we have some good numbers up there. Shadrick Bird gained 1 in speed and 3 in acceleration. The receivers look like they're trending a little more towards a 70 overall catching. Tight ends gained in speed, acceleration, and catching. It looks like my linemen all gained some in speed, agility, and acceleration, going to make it easier to get to those reach blocks or pulls and get to that second level or third level when it comes to blocking. Our linebacker converted defensive end gained 1 in speed and acceleration. This guy is going to terrorize quarterbacks this year. Boykins had a change from safety to middle linebacker and gained 3 from 74 to 77 with an increase in his awareness. And our new kicker went from 91 to 94 kick power. That is definitely going to help our field positioning when it comes to getting points. Fortunately, we only have to cut 1 player this year. It's probably going to be the kicker because we have 3 of them. Looking at our coaching tree, offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson is coming in with some major points. He's level 14. He's absolutely going to take this offense to the next level. As we get to the recruiting piece, it's going to be important for us to keep in mind what we need as a team. Those team needs include at least 1 wide receiver, as we are losing 2 this year to graduation, and also linebackers. We are going to be losing 3 to graduation this year, and we're already very thin. Let's take a look at our pipeline states, as these are the only states we are going to be allowed to recruit from, as well as the few that are surrounding us that make sense for us to recruit from. Of course, North Carolina, our sister state, South Carolina, and Georgia were all already pipeline states for us. Ones that we were looking to add because it made sense recruiting-wise included Virginia, Tennessee, and Alabama. And a quick reminder about other recruiting stipulations. We will look at no higher than a 3-star, and they have to initially be interested in University of Charlotte. Unless, of course, there is no one at that position interested, then we can go look around here and there. We will be looking at the pitches to ensure that we're not wasting our time. I have found 22 of the best guys that fit within our restrictions. They range from from as high as 71 to as low as in the high 50s right now, which we all understand that with the scouting can improve. I did decide to redshirt a few players where I felt like we had a plethora of experience or playmakers already, especially when it comes to tight end. I have 3 pretty decent tight ends, but I want to make sure that we are preparing Jason Dorsey to take over next year as our top playmaker at the tight end position. I do have quite a few offensive linemen, but Raymond Walton is going to be a superstar. I want to save him until he will start and be the main guy on this offensive line. I have decided to also redshirt a few defensive linemen, as I feel we are pretty set on all positions up front. I do look forward to getting Chase Maynard on the field next year. However, with the juniors I have in place right now, I don't feel as though he will be jumping any. I do like Jalal Holly and Miguel Jackson as my starting defensive tackles. Moving through the linebackers and defensive backs, it was hard enough getting warm bodies enough to be on the field, much less redshirt. So the last redshirt we have is Quentin Jones. Getting to the depth chart, I do have senior James Foster starting. His stats are superior even to Chris Reynolds, who was our play caller last year. He is also mobile, so if this offensive line decides to let down or break down at any point in time, he will be able to get out of the pocket. He'll be backed up by sophomore Xavier Williams and new freshman Jared Miller. The goal will be to get Jared Miller some snaps this year, but we have to make sure we're at least winning 7 games, so it might be an emphasis on making sure we win more than getting playing time. Shedrick Bird will still be a running back, followed by Siobhan McCarron, and then new transfer AJ Walker. At fullback, we have Will Culver, 6'2", 274-pound fella who has some major blocking skills. My biggest concern is going to be here at wide receiver. As you see, the speed we have is very subpar. We'll wait until you see the catching. It is abysmal. Only 2 of our wide receivers have over 70 catching, and you can see Singletary has barely 70 catching. That guy out the bottom, Kennan, that is a tight end. Unless your name is Taylor Thompson and you've proven to me that you can be a playmaker, I don't have you out in my 5 wide formation. Tight ends will all have decent speed and above 70 catching, so my tight end trio has better catching than my wide receivers. That's sad. Across the offensive line, we have great experience. 2 seniors and 3 juniors. They are all also above 77 and should be able to lend a helping hand to each other as they block for the running back and the quarterback throughout this season. Across my defensive line, I feel like I have great speed, decent strength, but above average agility and acceleration. My goal is going to be to send blitzes and make sure we get more sacks. If we have the quarterback on the ground, he can't make any passes to hurt our defensive backs. Across our linebackers, we have good speed, but the point I want to make is we may be going with a 2 middle linebacker system, maybe a 4-4, a 3-4, to make sure Derek Boykins is going to be in there because he is a playmaker. The reason why I want to make sure we get pressure is because I am very uneasy about our defensive back unit as a whole. There's not a whole lot of speed, however the awareness is also going to be a problem. There is one bright spot in Wayne Jones, followed by John Wilson, one of our best recruits coming forward into this year. As you can see, his awareness is not yet up to par, but he may very well be forced into action. The strong safety position where Derek Boykins came from will be handled by Bryson Whitehead. Very low awareness, but he does have better speed, better agility, and much better acceleration than Boykins. Hopefully Whitehead will be able to handle the strong safety position. As we get to the schedule, the first 4 weeks of the season, we will split 2 home, 2 away, 2 ranked teams, 2 unranked teams, all in the state of North Carolina. We will then have 2 open spots with UAB and USF splitting those up. UAB won their side of the conference last year, so we'll be looking to make sure we have a good showing against them. We then have another in-state battle against East Carolina, followed by 3 Texas schools in the next 4 weeks in Rice, North Texas, and SMU, with Florida Atlantic in there and ending the season with Memphis. The goal will be to get to the conference championship game, so let's make sure we win enough games to be playing that weekend. As we move closer to the start of season 2, we do have to stop and look at the All-American team as projected. We do have 2 guys on first team, Jalal Holly and Shedrick Ursery, and on second team we have Shadrick Bird as well as Stone Handy and Wayne Jones. Let's hope these guys live up to not only the American All-Conference team but also the All-American team for NCAA. They have us pegged to finish 5th overall in the American Conference East. At 85th in the nation, we are C+ overall with B- offense and defense as well as C+ special teams. As we mentioned before, there were some parts of our offense and defense that might be changing with the new offensive coordinator, but also the individuals we have on our defensive unit. With that, you'll see that we went from a pro-style offense to a run-balanced offense that also impacted the 60-40 run-pass ratio that we had in place. We're going to try to run 60% of the time and pass 40% of the time. However, the game plan may change depending on how their offense is impacting our game plan. If they're scoring more, if we do feel like we can run the ball, if we do feel like they're susceptible to the pass. We also changed the defensive playbook. You will see that defensive coordinator Greg Brown changed to a pressure playbook. What this means is we're going to try to blitz every play. We have a very talented linebacking crew. We have pretty good defensive linemen, however young they may be, but we have a very inexperienced defensive back unit. We are going to try to run some 4-4 with a single high safety being the free safety, Wayne Jones. We're also going to look at running a 3-4 as we want to make sure Boykins and Stone Handy are on the field at the same time. If we don't have a blitz called, then I may try to audible to make sure we get to a blitz. Now, obviously, if they're going 4 or 5 wide, there is no room for a blitz, as we're going to make sure we have 4 or 5 cornerbacks out there, make sure the safeties are back, because it's likely going to be a pass. With the new playbook, there are going to be some formation subs. So one of the main ones I wanted to point out, which shouldn't really be any surprise, are where we are going to substitute linemen for tight ends. In a situation like this, it is a tackle over, therefore the tight end is supposed to be on the left where the tackle is supposed to be, and the tackle is over on the right where the tight end is supposed to be. Well, I put our backup left tackle, number 58, in that spot where the tight end is supposed to be, and obviously the starting left tackle is over on the right side. So just stuff like that, because this is likely going to be a running play. Another situation where we have formation subs is Maryland I heavy. In the position where tight ends are supposed to be on the left and right, we have the backup left and right tackle. That makes sense because you are going to run the ball out of this formation. We're going to pound the ball, and we want to blow them off the ball, off the line of scrimmage, so we can pick up that yard or 2. Now, formation sub I wanted to bring up mainly because I talked so much about wanting to get the tight ends involved. If you look at the wide receivers, there are no tight ends. Now, as much as that hurts my heart because I love getting the tight end, the big, not necessarily fast, but maybe rumbling, bumbling, stumbling type of individual out there against a wide formation where there are going to be a lot of smaller players, I do not have the tight end for that this year. Hopefully, Dorsey will be able to be that person in years to come. When it comes to defensive play calling, Jalar Holley will be our starting defensive tackle. However, when we go to a dual defensive tackle unit, we will have Miguel Jackson, as he has 71 speed with great strength and great agility. To account for times when they do have us spread out, we do have 4-2, dime, and dollar. And of course, we have quarter, where we are going to have the faster defensive tackle in the middle in Miguel Jackson, and the fastest of our linebackers, Cam Burden, in the middle. To play center field, we're going to have our backup and brand new 3-star recruit, John Wilson, to make sure he gets some playing time, but also because I think he's going to be able to take over and be better than Wayne Jones. As we begin season 2, our first game will be at home against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Overall, they have a better team than us, but we're going to try to do whatever we can to defend the 704. We look forward to seeing you at the game. Go Niners!